876. I gotta find my. I gotta make sure I got my. This is my.
All rise.
Good morning. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the November 18, 2021 meeting for the Board of County Commissioners for Shawnee County. My name is Kevin Cook. I have served as the chair this year, also representing District 2. Joining me this morning is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Aaron Mays, representing District 3. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, our agenda, I would note that there was one item that was added yesterday, and that is item F1, and that was just due to making sure that we could timely get that approved. And so that was an addition that was made before the start of the meeting. But, Madam Clerk?
Okay, first item is item 3, consent agenda.
There are items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions, or is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers totaling $311,547.86. Relatively small voucher report, so there is nothing out of the ordinary to report, and I would move for approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, solid waste number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C392-2021, one-year renewal with Technics Solutions for the pickup and processing of electronic waste collected at the Solid Waste Department's Household Hazardous Waste Facility at no cost to Shawnee County.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. This item is just a one-year renewal for our actual contract with Technic Solutions. These are the vendors that provide pickup for all of our electronic waste that's collected out there at the Household Hazardous Waste. Like the clerk said, there is no cost to the county. The only fees is for the cathode ray tubes, and those fees are unchanged for this next coming year. Any questions?
Questions?
No.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item C, Parks and Recreation number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C393-2021, a 5-year agreement with Yamaha Motor Finance Corporation USA to lease a new fleet of golf cars and utility cars at an annual cost of $177,702, with $41,658 to be paid from the corresponding operating budgets from the cart usage and $136,044 from the Earned Income Fund Golf Division.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Director, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. As the clerk said, the majority of this comes out of our golf revolving fund. There is a small portion that we pay for out of our athletic budget or our sports budget, because we do send 5 of these carts over to the Bettis complex to be used for different things, tournaments and whatnot. So this is a major revenue producer for us. It produces over $500,000 annually through cart rentals. And we did work with Audit Finance on this before we brought it here today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions regarding the golf carts?
Is this for all the golf courses?
Yes, it is.
Tim, could you speak to what happens to the old golf carts?
Well, they're leased, so they take them back.
Okay, there's no value coming back to us on
No.
it? Okay.
No early buyback strategy on this lease, unfortunately.
Where are you at on that one, Brent? All right. Any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item C2, consider approval of request to award a bid to Sport Service Pros LLC for the resurfacing of 12 sport courts at Lake Shawnee, Shawnee North, Aquarian Acres, and Hillcrest Parks at a total cost not to exceed $91,500 from the excess reserve and/or building maintenance 3R fund, and authorization and execution of contract C-394-2021 for same.
Good morning again, Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. If you remember, we were here on October 19th asking permission to go out for bids, and we did receive four bids, and we checked references on this company, and they actually do work across the country. The reviews or the reports that we got back from the folks they worked with were glowing, so we feel good about it, and we would like your permission to move forward and award the bid to Sport Services Pros LLC.
And then, Tim, does this exhaust the last of the excess reserve?
I honestly think there's if I remember right, there's around $7,000 left or something, but it's all but gone, yes.
All right. Any questions regarding the contract?
Yeah, Tim, when we say resurfacing, this is similar to the quality of what we did at Hughes Park a couple of years ago. where it was
Exactly,
like
yeah, that's
filled all the cracks, leveled everything out.
correct,
Okay.
correct. And I know we talked about this last time, but we are putting pickleball lines on at the courts, Shawnee North and also Aquarian Acres. We are not doing that at the tennis courts at Lake Shawnee, however.
Okay, great.
Good.
Questions?
No, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item C3, consider approval of request to award a bid to J. Warren Company, Inc. to purchase and install 9 Victorian light poles and fixtures, 5 for Collins Park and 4 for Boswell Park, at a total cost of $60,000 utilizing 2021 CIP and excess reserve funds, and authorization and execution of contract C-395-2021 for same.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Boyd, Parks and Recreation. We are requesting permission to get this contract approved to install some Victorian-style lighting for those 2 parks. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is this in addition to replacement of lights or?
These are new installed lights. The ones at Collins Park, what we will do is install those and then remove Evergy's overhead lines and light poles out there so that we get rid of all the overhead lines in the park and have that all underground. And then Collins Park is in addition along the east and the west side. It's very dark with all the trees that line that area, and we've been working with the neighborhood association to do some improvements over there.
Okay. Questions?
The lights at Boswell Park, are they going to be the same as what they have there?
Identical.
Identical. Have you had a chance to talk to that neighborhood too? And
Multiple times.
very good.
Absolutely.
Good man.
Any other questions?
That's all I have.
No, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0.
Thank
you. Our next item.
Item C4, consider authorization and execution of contract C-396-2021, amendment number 1 to contract C-446-2019 with Kenneth Rivlin for a 2-year extension allowing for the lease and hanging maintenance of 4 park properties.
Good morning again, Commissioners. John Boyd, Parks and Recreation. We are requesting an extension to this contract. This is really a part of our prairie grass land maintenance program that we utilize. The haying keeps the cedar trees knocked down. That way we can extend the periods where we don't have to burn every year, and it's just a good maintenance practice. So be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item C5, consider approval of request to award a bid to Prospient Inc. for upgrades and optional gable ends at the Lake Shawnee Howie Greenhouse for a total of $50,265 to be funded from Building Maintenance 3R funds, and authorization and execution of contract C396-2021 for same.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Beaton, Horticulture Supervisor, Parks and Rec. Back on August 26th, we came in front of you to getting your permission to solicit bids for the renovation of the Howie Greenhouse. After we ended up having to, the first time we sent it out, we had no bids that came back in, so we sent it back out. And Prospient was the sole bidder the second time we sent it back out. So with your approval, we're asking to move forward with this contract.
Questions regarding the contract?
Yeah, Chris, could you refresh my memory? Was this approximately what we expected it to cost, or?
It came in, we added the gable ends just because looking at staff time and everything. It came in probably about 17,000 more than what my original budget was and everything, but we did add the gable ends to this because just time-wise and everything, needing to try to get it done by March to move plants into there. We weren't going to be able to in-house to get that accomplished.
Okay, and the gable ends were the $11,000 approximately. so-
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Facilities Management, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C398-2021, amendment to contract C321-2021 with Smithereen Pest Management for pest control services at the Weed Department Building, 2024 Southwest Western Avenue, at a cost of $35 per treatment and a cost of $85 for a one-time equipment and setup to be paid from the Weed Department budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nelda Henning, Director of Facilities Management. I'm here to answer any questions you might have on this item.
We had contracts earlier this year about pest control. Is this just an addition to those ones that we already have?
It is an addition. For some reason, John was upset he got left out.
No.
So, yeah.
And this is the same company as the other?
Same company.
Okay.
And it's basically the same price that everyone else is paying.
Any other questions?
No, I'd move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item E, Court Administration, number 1, consider approval of request to add 3 data plans to the existing Shawnee County contract with Verizon Wireless to provide court service officers with smartphones at a cost of $41.58 per month per data plan, with funding included in the Court Administration budget for both 2021 and in future years.
Madam Clerk, I think you said 3, but it's actually 30.
Correct.
I might have said 3, and it just,
3 times
you know,
10.
I'm blind in that one eye, I can't see very well. No, I'm just kidding, I'm really not blind in one of my eyes.
As long as the
I gotta
minutes
be careful.
reflect it.
All right. Sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. We are requesting approval to add 30 data plans to the county Verizon contract. This will take care of most of our court services officers. We do have, our supervisors do currently have cell phones, but most of them are the old flip phones, which is not conducive to video calls and such with their clients. We found during the pandemic that there are a few ways to mask numbers through the county system, but it's not foolproof. And just for a safety feature, we'd like our officers not to be using their personal cell phones when contacting their criminal clients.
Okay. I do have one question. This is maybe for Jennifer or Betty with Audit Finance. On our ARPA funds, we have an item listed for connectivity and remote access. Is this the same as or similar to, or would this be different than that?
I think this is just more of a continual operations type thing, so I don't think that, generally, we're looking at more one-time expenses for ARPA funds, and since this, I think, would be a continual operational expense, I think it would be more appropriate to have it just paid out of their budget.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Rippon makes the motion to approve. Commissioner Mays seconds. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item F, Department of Corrections, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C399-2021 with Meridian Roofing Solutions for Phase 1 of the roof replacement of the Juvenile Detention Center and the East Addition of the Adult Detention Center at a cost not to exceed $465,328 to be paid from the 2021 Capital Improvement Project funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. I first want to start out by apologizing to the Commissioners and everybody that when this was approved for us to go out for bid and approved to accept this back in June, we moved forward without crossing some Ts and dotting some Is, meaning that in our haste, or I'll use it as our taking the initiative, I'll say that, it's a better word, more positive. We worked with the vendor, getting stuff ordered so we could get the supplies in. They were behind trying to get prices solidified and things like this, and we just started moving forward. I want to thank Betty and Jennifer with Audit Finance and Jim, because when an invoice came in, and maybe with Cindy, when an invoice came in, realized there was not a contract. And I certainly take full responsibility for that. We need to make sure that we're following the correct practices. So I worked diligently with Jim Crowell in their office to be able to create this contract. We get it done. I did meet with the contractor. They completely understand. They had no problems with it whatsoever. They understand we were able to get this done within a matter of about 48 hours. But my apology comes because I don't like to be able to just put stuff on the agenda without having the ability to sit down and talk with the commissioners. This was something that was approved. It just is a matter of establishing a contract and getting the little things more formalized, a performance bond and stuff like that. So with that, this was approved through capital outlay of Phase 1. Again, I want to thank Betty and Jennifer for that, and Jim for working with us diligently. Yes, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves at the jail. It's well intended, but I apologize.
But just to set the record straight, we did go out for bids. We
Yes.
did follow the purchasing policy. This was brought before the commission for approval. We approved the award to Meridian, and so the only thing that was lacking was the actual finalization of the signing of the contract.
Yes, yes, sir.
And so this is just, again, dotting the i's and crossing
Yes.
the t's.
Yes.
Okay.
But it warrants an apology, and again, the teamwork by my colleagues and department heads is I appreciate that very much.
Any questions? No? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item G, Commission, number 1, consider approval to request proposals for a Shawnee County Apparel website vendor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Monholland, Public Information Officer. So yes, we would like to go out for proposal to find a qualified vendor to support a website where Shawnee County employees and departments can go out and purchase apparel to wear to work or however they choose. I'd also like to point out too that this is got some specific specifications that I put in with the request, and specifically being able to have the ability to support a fundraising option throughout the year with this website. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So we are looking at local companies as well as ones that are outside of Shawnee County.
I am under the impression that is what it says in the purchase or the policy. So.
Okay. And then this would be our designated vendor for apparel that has the logo or names on it.
Correct.
Other questions? No? All right. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays,
Second.
second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item G2, discussion of capital improvement projects for 2022 budget.
This is picking back up where we were at last week on the 8th, I believe. And we had already designated the shuttered venue and small CIP. And now we were going back through our ARPA and capital outlay for 2022. to finalize that.
Yes, you actually got one step further, I believe.
Okay.
You guys did a preliminary approval of the full $1 million in cap
Right.
outlay. So progress. So I don't know where you want to start. I made a couple changes to the spreadsheet that you guys have to work from. Per your request, we combined all of the, where are we at? Sorry. We combined all of the courtroom CIPs into one project, so that's listed up here at $2,070,000, or $2,070,840. And that combines all of the renovations included of the courtrooms themselves, plus the audiovisual technology upgrades, leaving the courtroom gallery, seating, and podiums separated, since that's just a purchase of furniture outright. Then the other change that was made to this is down at the bottom. There were 3 items that were requested to be added to this for consideration by the commission, and that was the saloon at Old Prairie Town, the DOC roofing project, and the DOC boiler replacement. In addition to the saloon at Old Prairie Town being moved over to this spreadsheet for consideration, the dollar amount of the project was updated to reflect what was believed to be a truer cost of that project at $1.5 million now.
And again, just for those that are in the audience as well as at home, the total amount of the ARPA grant was $34,355,895.
Yes, yes.
And the Spark Committee's recommendation is that we allocate half of that now and reserve half of that for future allocation.
Well, they had suggested, it wasn't necessarily that, they had suggested specific projects that totaled approximately half. I don't know that, yeah, but that's,
But reserving
Yes.
part for future years.
yes.
Okay. And then there were some that have already been approved, and those are at the top of that spreadsheet, and such as the consultant, the administrative costs, electronic poll book replacements, space planning, and the DA backlog. Those have already been approved by the commission for the ARPA.
Correct. Those are already, projects that are already in progress using ARPA funding.
Okay. If we could just maybe start at the top, and we're having consolidated the courtroom renovations and audiovisual technology upgrades. Are there other questions for facilities or for the court administration regarding that? Is there, I would make a motion then to approve the request of the $2,070,840 for ARPA funds.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Okay.
The next item would be the courtroom gallery seating and podiums, and that's to replace items that, basically whenever the seating and podiums were removed due to COVID spacing, when they went to put some of those seats back together to replace them in the courtrooms, they no longer hold like they used to.
Might also note, many of those seats were original to the building in 1965, and so they've well exceeded their lifespan.
Absolutely, they've done their job.
Or they're historic.
Almost.
Hey, let's not go there.
The wood is historic, yes.
Okay.
I'll move to approve that.
Second. Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected it passes 3-0.
The next item is the replacement of the HVAC system at the Department of Corrections Annex for $850,000.
Is there any questions for facilities or for Director Cole on this one?
Is that system currently is it at the end of its life?
And I would note that there was a head nod
nod.
of Director Cole saying yes.
Good. I would move for approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Rippon,
Second.
second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Before we go any farther, I do want, since we're at Department of Corrections and we're talking about the HVAC system, if we can go to the very last item, which is the Department of Corrections boiler replacement. And I think that it would make sense for us to take that up at the same time as we're talking about the other HVAC and heating and cooling at Department of Corrections. I would move for approval of the $355,000 for that.
Just to clarify, this is all of the boilers. Yeah.
To replace the existing ones, yes.
So, I mean,
Different sizes, yes.
I would assume that they'd all be bid out together, right, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I would second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. Any further discussion? Seeing none, reflected it passes 3-0. Since we're at the Department of Corrections, an item that was added was the Department of Corrections roof. And again, this would be, again, a replacement of original roofing to the facility that was built in 1987.
Exactly.
Questions? Commissioner Mays.
So earlier today, we did that contract for the roof replacement that's happening soon. Is there not any way to go back and pay that with ARPA funds as well and just do the entire roof with this? Would that free up money?
I could go back and look. I'm not sure. It all kind of depends on some dates.
Okay.
So that's why I was kind of positive. I was trying to remember. Yeah, I'm not sure when the dates occurred, but as long as the dates were right and we followed the purchasing policy, so those requirements would be met for the federal funding. So we can go back and see. That would be another $465,000. Yeah, we'd have to double check the federal requirements to make sure that all of that is fine.
Okay, well, so I would move to approve this, and then what will should we earmark that, or?
But make recommendations to the Spark Committee for the review of the other expenditure.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do that, that would be my preference, but
So
obviously we want to make sure we do it the right way, so.
So procedurally, we would be approving the $600,000 now as a separate note, not action, but a note from the commission directing the Spark Committee to review the replacement of the DOC roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was previously funded with 2021 capital outlay funds in the amount of there was $600,000 set aside for that project. That came in at $465,000, I'm sorry.
Then that money would then be going back into the general fund
The capital outlay.
or
fund.
capital outlay? Okay. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, passes 3-0. All right. Taking us back up to Department of Corrections on the detainee body scanner.
That one you guys had already previously
Yeah.
noted
That's
to approve.
Okay.
So the next one that you guys haven't already addressed is the $3 million for the mechanical system upgrade or systems replacement to the courthouse. And I think one of the considerations that you guys had mentioned before, and we haven't looked at doing that, but is that you also would be looking at the $1.5 million for the windows and the lighting upgrade to LED in the courthouse, kind of all at the same time. Those three going up for bid together, hopefully.
And again, noting in our facility manager, this is replacement of the mechanical system that is, again, original to the facility from 1965. Windows that are original to the building that are not energy efficient, and lighting upgrades, so making it, again, more efficient, replacing our halogen into LEDs.
Yes.
Questions on those three?
Eddie Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I might also mention that there had been talk about combining courthouse projects, and that can be done regardless of how you approve them. You can approve them individually, and then we can work at what makes the most sense to combine some of these courthouse projects, including maybe the courtroom renovations too. But just because they're approved individually does not mean that they cannot then be combined when we go out for bid or anything like that. Just wanted to add that in there.
Okay. Other questions? I'll move for approval of those three. Those being the 300,000 for mechanical systems.
3 million?
3 million, sorry, 3 million for mechanical systems, 250,000 for the lighting upgrade to LED, and the 1.5 million for courthouse replacement windows.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. All right.
Okay, then the next piece, this is $1.1 million for building improvements and modifications due to space planning, which includes some repairs to the west courthouse entrance. The reason we didn't talk about this with the others is this item is actually already currently out for bid.
When we say, now if we could maybe just elaborate a little bit on I know that we have the west courthouse entrance where it is leaking into the building and creating damage, including leaking into safes. But when we talk about building improvements and modifications due to space planning, can we touch on that just a little bit?
Nelda Henning, Director of Facilities Management. So this item is actually a combination of remodeling and updating 707, and when the occupants move out of this building into that building, backfilling those spaces and getting those spaces ready. The west entrance is going to be needed because we'll be putting a jury assembly room in the space being vacated by the county counselor. And with the heavy occupant load at that end of the building, it will require us to make that entrance an egress, thus requiring an update of the broken tiles in the exitway and handicap access and ramps and handrails that have been kind of left to deteriorate.
But we're not contemplating adding a security officer station at the west entrance. This would be for an emergency exit.
This would be strictly for an emergency exit, yes.
Okay. But this does cover the remodeling of 707 Quincy for the 5 departments that are moving there, as well as the renovations to the space left by those 5 departments.
That is correct.
Okay. Questions? Motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Cook. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected it passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
The next item is, oops, sorry, clicked the wrong button. The next item is a $300,000 mobile vaccine and testing unit for the health department.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, that's right, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. There is also some consideration that we have for FEMA being able to fund this. So we would like to handle this much the same way that we handled the rent for the vaccine clinic that was previously on the list at $1 million. We applied for FEMA funding. That way we could go ahead and allocate some of the ARPA funding for it, knowing that with any luck, we will get approved on the FEMA application and the FEMA money would come and take the place of the ARPA funding instead.
How soon would we know about that?
I think there's a few steps that we would need to make. FEMA worked very quick with us on the vaccine clinic. We received the money earlier this week, so we got the money within a week of being approved for the project. So they did great, and I can't guarantee that it would go that quickly, but we would need to work with KDM to create the project and make the application for
They
it.
would pay, you're making an application for 100% of this.
Yes, it's currently, there's still a extension on FEMA being able to cover 100% of the funding and there being no matching requirements by the local government.
All right.
I think that's.
That
yeah,
sounds
I mean,
reasonable.
If it's conditional on that, then I would say, yeah, let's go ahead and approve that. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Okay, the next item that's on the list you haven't addressed yet is the $900,000 for, to cover the COVID admin leave that was requested by the HR department. And this is a non-CIP item. This was just included in the list because you guys were looking at the rest of the ARPA funding.
Commissioners, my concern with this candidly has been the use of the ARPA funds, since we are not making grants to outside entities, is at this time, but we are looking at investing back into the community through renovations to our facilities. We're looking at, hopefully, those being some local companies that would be able to bid on projects and for renovations, while not guaranteed, but they would have the opportunity to bid on projects. My concern with the $900,000 is we're putting money back into our general fund that we would have already had. And so, already budgeted for. And so, just, it's not reinvesting directly back into the community. So that is my one concern with that $900,000. Not that it's not a expense approved by Widow Bryan. Widow Bryan has given its approval to it or recommendation, but, or the Spark Committee, just, it's not reinvesting back directly into the community.
Yeah, and this is just estimated. It would be actual costs once we know what those are. But yes, you are correct.
So,
I think it's a logical argument. I mean, we've sort of said that this first kind of batch of what we're doing, this half of whatever the money we've received now, basically. So, we've sort of, I feel like, agreed that it's gonna be mostly capital projects.
I agree.
And so I don't know that this is something we need to do right now.
would it be possible for us to, again, continue to monitor our leave, and then if need, we would be able to look at the future reimbursement of that leave?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. That way, we would have a harder number to look at, not just an estimated amount, but an actual amount.
Yep.
Okay.
I also feel like, and I'm sorry
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
interrupt, but I mean, I also feel like with the addition of the items at the jail, that, you know, we're gonna be over that 17 million if, without some changes. So I think this would free up a little bit more money for that, and then when we come back later, you know, perhaps this is something we could look at then, but I don't think for this first round, probably not something we need to do.
Let's go on then down to our Parks and Recreation.
Yes, the next item on the list is $1.2 million for the girls softball complex at Lake Shawnee.
Tim, are we currently doing phase 1 now? Is that what that's called?
If Tim, if you could come up, just again.
Tim Lorette, Parks and Recreation Department. Yeah, I believe that's what we're calling it, Phase 1.
And what would phase 2 look like?
I think that, let me pull it up here and I'll tell you exactly so I don't misspeak. Maybe.
I was just wondering what's left out there to do
Yeah, it looks
after.
like pretty nice right now.
It's looking pretty good, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is, it's great. But this would bring, we would be doing let's see here.
Is this phase,
This would be a new entrance, new concession building, new restroom for the women's, and then a small office facility as well.
Tim, would this put the girls softball facility on par with the men's side at Bettis?
That is the goal.
Okay. And again, that has been an issue that's been raised multiple times in the past, is that there's an inequity in facilities for men versus women, and that the men's facility was much nicer,
Absolutely.
so. But this does put them both on par.
okay.
Questions?
I don't know, I mean, do we have any kind of a breakdown of that cost of, you know, I mean, how much of that's for the restrooms, how much is it for the entrance?
We
I
do
mean,
have that. I don't have that with me here today, but we have a project budget that we had put together.
Okay, because I mean, I look at that and I think like, yes, we want to get there, but, you know, the restrooms are probably the most important item on that, if I had to guess, and then the concessions are probably relatively important as well. At least those are revenue generating.
Right.
The main entrance, I don't even know what the main entrance looks like. I'm trying to imagine it in my mind. And
Well, it's just kind of nondescript. I mean, I
Okay,
think
yeah.
that the fact that you can't remember it is why we're trying to do something different about it. And when you look at, you know, you look at the men's complex, has a very, you know, you remember that. It's very functional, it works well.
Do you want to hold this item?
Yeah, I think if we just hold it, maybe get some more details. I'm just interested in seeing what it's going to be.
Okay. All right, then Tim, don't go too far.
Okay.
The next item is the campgrounds. If you could maybe outline for the commissioners why we would want to invest $2 million into Shawnee County campgrounds.
Right. Well, I'll give you the bird's eye view is that it's antiquated. I mean, it's an old campground. The spaces are too small to handle the larger RVs that people use now. The reason that we rated it so high and that we've been putting a lot of work into it is that it was greatly impacted by COVID in a good way. I mean, camping and people are outside, and so we saw the use go way up. We think that'll continue for some time, and it's been, quite honestly, neglected for several years. It needs a facelift, and we're talking about new utilities, all new services, really, to get them up to today's standards with these larger, more advanced campers.
How does the rankings, as for example, several years ago, that Shawnee County was ranked #1 in a tourist destination,
Yeah.
an attraction? Does this lack of facilities affect that ability to highlight that?
Well, I think I'm sure that plays into it. It's the campground is in a great spot, so I think the fact that when people go there, they think highly of it because it's in such a beautiful location. You're right down on the water, but it's just limited to the number of people or the size of campers that we can have there. So it's half a dozen of one, six of another. Yes, I think it would impact things like that.
Now, it's possible, but probably unlikely, that Commissioner Mays is going to be pulling out his tent and camping out at Lake Shawnee. You might, but
Never know.
we're really looking at attracting people to come, tourists, and coming to the
Absolutely.
lake. And so this would also then be a revenue source for Parks and Recreation?
Correct. Yeah, as you know, we operate the campground out of a revolving fund, so there's very little to no impact to the taxpayer on our operation out there. That revolving fund is doing very well right now, so.
Tim, let's talk about the utilities just a second. Right now, you don't have sanitary hookup for any of the spaces?
We do not.
We just have one place where you go.
They have to
dump
pull out
station
and go
type.
across the street and dump.
So if we upgrade the utilities, everybody will have,
Not
Okay.
every single space, but yes,
The majority of
quite a bunch, yeah, most of them would.
and water, electricity,
Water,
everything.
electricity, that would all be upgraded.
Okay. That'd be an improvement.
Well, in correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't part of that because we don't want people living there?
No,
It's really designed, it's not a long-term campsite, where some
Absolutely.
campgrounds, you can pretty much set up and live there forever if you
Yeah.
want, but
no, we don't encourage that. We try not to let that happen.
with this renovation, will there be any, since this is a revenue-generating revolving fund type of a situation here, are there any cabins being added?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. We do have plans as part of this to add some cabins. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I believe it was maybe 8. And I don't have the plan here, but we picked out a really nice spot. It's kind of out on a point. They'd be right on the water. It would be, I think they would be the best cabins in this area as far as location.
And then is there any fishing dock, or anything?
You can do that now currently if
Okay.
but you do have to pay to get into the campground to do that. We also have swimming off at the campground as well.
But the dock itself is in good shape now, or is that going to be replaced? I know that there was an item, if I'm not mistaken, on the CIP.
There was Lake Shawnee dock improvements, and I don't believe that included any docks at the campground. I think those were outside of the campground.
Okay, is there any improvements to like the snack shop, general store type of a situation there, or anything like that happening?
No, we don't
Laundry
have any improvements
facilities?
under that.
Okay.
No.
How long do we allow someone to park at the campsite now? If any?
I think it's 30 days.
I do not know. I do not have
30
the answer.
days.
I think they can continue to pay. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I have to find out.
All right. I was thinking it was like 30 days, but.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think this is an item that's gonna pay, that's gonna be good for us long-term, and I would move for approval.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. The last item.
Can I
okay.
ask one more
Yes.
question? I'm sorry. Tim, before you run off. Can we make sure that when we do this, the timeline doesn't interfere with the Winter Wonderland in some way?
Absolutely.
So, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Will do.
Okay, the last item that we had from the Spark Committee
Yes.
was the $12,000 from elections, and this was for sanitation and cleaning for the 2023 and 2024 elections.
Yes.
Noting that we had expended out of capital outlay for 2022.
You guys actually had listed previously, you had previously approved the 2021 and 2022 elections. It was originally submitted as one project, so I just broke this into 2 parts of the same project for reporting. So it was originally at 24,000, and so this broke the 2 different groups into 12,000 apiece. And these are also non-CIP items. These are cleaning that is being requested and sanitization requested from the different polling locations.
And again, it's estimated as to what those
Yes.
would be.
Yes. And we went back and looked at at last year's, and it was right in that area.
And this is really as
Yes.
far as we can go out as 2024 with this funding, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
All costs should be incurred before, or obligated by 2024.
Okay.
Questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook. Second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Then the rest of the items that are listed here on the ARPA are in the ARPA unfunded column, just because the committee has not reviewed any of the rest of the items that are listed yet. But they include, I don't know if you want to go into those next.
Can you give us a tally of what we have approved so far?
Yes, just a second. Oops. And $16,074,769.
Okay. So that is just a little under 49, because we were at 49% at 16,754,000.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just scrolling back up, making sure I have everything in the right column. Yes, that brings us to 47%.
Okay. I did have a question regarding the facility. If we could, Nelda, since you're still here, can you talk to us about the parking lot mill and overlay, curb gutter replacements, as well as the roofing replacement, exterior waterproofing, where those would be at?
These items are typical items that we put in the 5-year capital plan. We ask for a certain amount each year so that if a issue comes up during that calendar year, we can get it resolved. I would say that 75% of our parking lots are looking pretty good. Sidewalks are a little bit iffy right now. We've had some heaving and some movement. So if I could get the money for the sidewalks, it would definitely be something that we could put to use.
This estimate does not include the parking lots at all the various parks and rec locations.
Yeah, it's just facilities.
Since we are not in emergency state right now, is this maybe something we can look at on the phase 2?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Mays?
Now, with the parking lots, I know you said most of them are in pretty good shape right now. Have we looked at maybe just doing some sort of a micro surfacing or something to make sure that, and it's quite a bit cheaper than a mill and overlay, but just to kind of extend the longevity of those?
We were looking at the parking lot that is the biggest issue right now is up at the North Annex, where the staff parks. And we were hoping to get with the Public Works Department to look at doing some patching to get us through for right now. So
Okay.
I think that we can do some minor things that will get us through before they become majorly critical, yes.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding those two items? Thank you. On Parks and Rec number 10, the mini train replacement of $650,000. I know that the mini train has had some issues over the past couple of years where we've had to do emergency repairs to keep it going. Tim, if you could just, again, speak to that item. I know that it is a pretty high demand item at Gage Park.
Yeah, Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. I also have Brent Holsetter here, who, our fleet maintenance supervisor, him and his staff do most of the repairs. Yeah, come on up, Brent. Do most of the repairs on the train, so he could probably speak in greater detail as to what the issues are. But to your point, yes, it is a marquee event in Gage Park and really all of Topeka, and it brings people from all over. And we are working currently to get some improvements and some fixes to the track in different areas. So it would be nice to move forward on the mini train. I don't know, Brent, if you want to make any comments.
So I guess
Brent,
Brent,
their fleet services supervisor.
how bad is it?
Well, the staff has done a really good job of keeping the train going. We've made a lot of improvements over the years. The big issue is that the transmission that the train uses is out of a mid-1960s forklift that John Deere bought the company and has supported the parts for all these years, but they are no longer supporting the parts for that transmission. There are other transmissions out there, but unfortunately the safety system that controls the throttle and going into gear goes on that transmission, and in order to put something else in, we would need to redesign a safety system, and I don't know that I am qualified to do that. It would take a good little bit of engineering on a 54-year-old train. So once these transmissions are done, we have 2 of them, there's no more fixing those transmissions. So that's kind of the big issue. We kind of had a clock ticking.
I know that we had it down for a period of time, last 2 years ago, and when the train's not running, that's one thing the public notices right away.
That's for sure. The only thing I've ever been called on a Sunday by a commissioner was
Wasn't
to
me.
say, hey, I got my grandkids out here. Is that train going to be going?
Since I don't have grandkids, it wasn't me. So,
I mean, I can tell you, Iron Horse, as they call it, has been there a long time, and I think this community has a strong connection to that train in particular, and a replacement of the train, I don't know would be a real popular thing. I think that figuring out a way to re-engineer it might be the way to go, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we can gut it and replace everything inside of it or what, but I mean, buying a new train, I think, is going to be a pretty unpopular idea. But I mean, you know more about it than I do, if it's even possible to do that. But I'd heard that they do an overhaul of it 20 years ago or something like that. And
There's actually been several overhauls. The other half of the issue, and one of the ways we've kind of kept up with this is by having local companies engineer things. The company that built the train, went out of business in 74 or 75, and there is a museum that is where we've been able to get parts through for a number of years. The guys that run that are in their 80s. So being able to buy parts from the manufacturer is extremely difficult. Again, like I say, we've managed to get around a lot of that, but there's certain things that cost-effective wise, safety wise, becomes more and more difficult. If you could think about trying to run your business with a 67 Chevy pickup, it might not be the most efficient way to do things.
I guess, Commissioners, from my perspective, while it is popular, and I would like to see if we can maintain that exact train, and it's got a lot of memories. We're also talking about children and small children that are riding this, and we start talking about safety concerns. I would never want an afternoon at Gage Park to be something that would be a safety issue for families and children. And so, knowing that we know it needs to be fixed and replaced, we have the opportunity to do so. I think we owe it to the community.
well, just to clarify, the train is safe, right? Like, this is a situation where it might just stop working. It's not going to explode or anything.
Yeah, we're not,
I mean,
we wouldn't, if we feel like it's unsafe or that we were putting people in danger, we wouldn't put it out there. So it is a reliability issue moving forward, but yeah, and I understand your point. But I would also say that the trains we're talking about purchasing, while they don't look exactly like the train we have, they look very much like the train. I mean, we're not putting in a silver bullet, and a subway car. I mean, it looks very similar to what we have if we were able to move forward. But and I would think, hopefully over time, they would realize the benefit of having something reliable based compared to the nostalgia of having the old train.
We spend approximately 250 hours a year maintaining the train, which is considerably more than I think should be necessary.
Brent, if we were to get a new train, would it fit on that same gauge of track? I mean,
Yes.
Is the train one of the our amusement rides that has to be inspected every year now. I know they passed some state laws that.
Yes, it is.
It's one of them that, you know. Okay.
I would make a motion to replace the mini train or allocate that $650,000 to look into, and can we say maintain or replace?
Or upgrade?
Upgrade or replace the Gage Park mini train. So giving the Department of Parks and Recreation the flexibility to look at whether or not it's even feasible to continue with the same actual body that we have for the mini train. If not feasible, then they would be able to move to another alternative. Would that meet the concerns of the commission?
And maybe add track upgrades as needed or where needed.
So up to $650,000.
Weren't the track upgrades were a separate item, weren't they?
Oh, were they?
Yes.
Or did
We
did
took
they
up-
not-
We're doing track repairs at the moment.
And,
Okay.
and those
But
were
that's not
approved.
upgrades.
And those
Okay.
were approved under our capital outlay.
So that doesn't need to be in here then.
So,
Okay. I will, was that a motion?
that's a motion.
I will second that motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflected it passes 3-0.
Since we're kind of jumping around
Yes.
right now, I think an item that we need to look at is the parking lot at the weed department, or lack thereof. That I feel like it's something that the current gravel lot is not good for our forklifts and, oh, sorry, we're standing
An
up.
hour.
Okay. But I think that's something we need to do, and even if we don't do the full $60,000
Well, for us it is, we have to get it right for it.
asphalt parking lot, John had said, just what, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, we just want to give an update on this item, because there
Okay,
has been a
please.
small update on it.
So after contacting KDA and getting some clarifications on what our CIP fund could be used for, it opened up a broader view of it, and so we could pay for those parking lot repairs out of the weed department capital outlay. It is something they would allow.
Okay, so the repairs or the expansion?
The repairs and the expansion,
Okay,
so.
great.
All right, there we go.
Don't have to worry about it.
We would still want you to approve the CIP item, but to be funded out of his source.
Okay.
And is that something we need to do today? Okay. All right. Commissioner Mays, is that a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Rippon. So the $60,000 for weed department parking lot will be funded from the weed department CIP. Did I say that correctly?
It will be funded from the weed department equipment fund.
Equipment fund. All right. Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0.
Okay. It may be called the weed department cap outlay fund. We're not sure exactly what it's called, but we know the intent here, so we can get that squared away.
If we're jumping around, could I bring up the saloon at Old Prairie Town?
Sure.
This is a project I know they've had in their master plan for a number of years. And they have a group out there of friends of Old Prairie Town that have been, they're the ones that design and build all the lights for these light shows. And they've got quite a commitment to this project to the tune of about $500,000. And I don't know of any other projects on these 2 pages where anybody else is willing to put money into it. So I would like to move that project forward. Just also just to give them a good incentive to keep up the good work. They do these light shows twice a year, and it brings in very good money. And so that's a project I'd like to move forward.
Commissioner Rippon, to speak to that project, the Old Prairie Town is, I appreciate it greatly. I go to it frequently. But one of the uniquenesses of Old Prairie Town is that every building there has the historic elements. Outside of the Pot One drugstore, which was built, but it houses all of the items from the Pot One neighborhood. But the schoolhouse, and you were involved intimately in moving the church there, and the schoolhouse, and the livery stable, and all of those, and those were projects that you worked on. Is there any way possible that we could look at, instead of creating a new structure, which would not match anything else at Old Prairie Town, being able to find something that would be, and I know that you have advocated fiercely for a saloon or a gathering space for receptions,
Yep.
for weddings that would be at Old Prairie Town, so that they're not just having your wedding and leaving, but you're having your wedding and staying.
You're right, the drugstore was built new. We did use old elements from the old Pot One drugstore inside. The livery stable was actually, it was an old barn, but we rebuilt it. We didn't mark stone by stone and all that. The tack shop was built new. So we kind of have a blend already of some new and old. I think we did a very good job, though, on the tack shop and the drugstore, making it fit in and look old and using old elements. And I think a building of this size is too hard to move in. It'd be a two-story building, and to get it through town it was tough enough with the church. We actually had to cut the roof off the church, develop some kind of a framework inside the attic to lift the roof up and move it on a separate truck. It was quite a job. So I think you'd have to almost start from scratch on this one. But the inside, you'd use old elements, old chairs, old tables, old bars, things like that, and it would look that way. But Ward Mead, we have quite a few weddings and no receptions. It's just we don't have a space that will hold a couple hundred people. We have a space that'll hold 70, and so people just go elsewhere. But we could certainly use the space out there for that. And the people that have worked out there, the volunteers, have made quite a commitment to this project, and I would hate to let them down.
Commissioner Mays?
Well, do we have situations where people might get married at the botanical gardens there and then have a reception at the Great Overland Station? I mean, it seems, well, $1.5 million is a lot of money, and what I don't want to do is give the impression that we're, wanting to compete directly with the private sector. I know it seems like just everyone that's got a barn now has an event venue, it seems, so.
Well, I think we would use it for a lot more than just wedding receptions. When we do things like Apple Festival, we rent big tents for our entertainment and things like that. You just move it in there. And it would give us a lot more flexibility on a lot of events out there. And I think it's a venue you could use a lot in the summer. You could have shows. I don't know if you're familiar with what they do in Dodge City at Boot Hill. You could do shows like that in the evening for, catch the tourist in town and have your shows there every evening. Have a little stage in there where you can do something.
I'm not discounting that there might be a need at Old Prairie Town for a gathering spot. I'm just not sure about if this is not having a full laid out. I'm just not sure on it yet, and I guess that would be my caveat. As opposed to, there are other projects that we have here, such as the Oakland Community Center that we have talked about renovating, such as the Dornwood, where we started it, but we haven't finished it. And so there are some other projects that are, I would just put it as a little bit higher priority or And whether or not we would look at, and we've also talked about bonding money in the future, whether or not family park, where some of our parks and recreation, and what money are we going to use from ARPA, what money are we going to use from potential future bonded money. And so I'm just not sure about this one yet.
My other concern is also calling it the saloon. It makes it sound like we're building a bar. You know, can we call it the town hall maybe?
Call it a Grange Hall. Grange Halls were popular back at that time period.
Okay.
But whatever you call it, the need is for a facility to hold like 200 people. My concern is we've got people that have put a lot of time and effort, and they're looking for some kind of commitment from us now. And I don't see that in any of those other projects.
Well, Dornwood has the Topeka Baseball Softball Association. They've maintained their own facility. It was built from the community. It was a private entity that got taken into Parks and Recreation. They still have their own management board. Our Topeka Tennis Association, they've done a lot of fundraising.
That's true. I'm just talking about this list here.
Yeah,
I don't see much.
I
don't see any commitment.
Yeah. I know that Dornwood, the problem with baseball fields is your cost is in the excavation. I was absolutely astounded and quite frankly shocked at looking at the cost of renovating of a ball field, and that how much work goes into excavating and leveling the field so that it drains properly so that you're able to have those ball games. And so you might have a loss of an afternoon as opposed to a loss of 3 or 4 days for it to drain. And I mean, the Dornwood facility is used by a lot of kids that would not otherwise be able to afford to play baseball somewhere else. 60 or more % of their kids are on scholarship out at Dornwood. So I just know that it's a project that at some point I would like to see completed.
I would too. I look at a lot of these projects, and there's a lot of roofs and air conditioners, things like that. But I think this is a project that it could be a special place. And, you know, when we talk about quality of life, this is a quality of place and a quality of life issue, I think. This would be an attraction. It would really help the facility as a whole. And it's one of those things that would make a difference in Topeka, I think. You know, roofs are fine, they're needed, parking lots, but occasionally you have to do something that, like I say, it creates a unique place.
Commissioner Mace, any other thoughts?
No, I think I maybe want to defer action on this. I'm not sure that I want more information.
Okay.
It does seem like the price went up. I thought last week 2 weeks ago, we were talking, it seemed like we were talking about maybe $500,000.
Yeah, it went from 500,000 to 1,500,000.
I don't think 500,000 would catch it. I really don't.
Well, that's something we'll need to talk about. I mean,
Maybe we could get sharpen the pencil and look at the numbers a little bit closer.
yeah.
At this time, we can always come back as the Spark Committee makes further recommendations. I know the Spark Committee will continue to meet, but at this time, I would make a motion to close the ARPA funding as Phase 1. Is there a second?
Can we see the total real quick?
Yes.
Just to make sure.
47.
It's at
We're
49%, and I think the only item that was recommended by the committee that was a CIP item that did not get the funding approved was the $1.2 million for the softball at Lake Shawnee.
Which, again, we had held for further information.
Yeah, and I know, I'll go back to that real quick. I think my concern is basically doing nothing at Dornwood and giving a substantial amount of money to the girls softball complex. And I think that, you know, there's a need at both places, and it's tough to choose one over the other, in my opinion.
So perhaps those two items can be taken up by the Spark Committee and brought back to us at a future time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right.
So I'll second your motion.
Motion to close the RPA funding as Phase 1, made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Is there any other action that needs to be taken on capital improvement projects for 2022? Do you want a final approval of?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will make a motion to approve the shuttered venue. All right. Then I'll make a motion to approve the capital improvement plan for 2022.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed, reflect that it passes 3-0. Does that meet with the approval of the clerk?
Certainly does.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
thank you. Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
This is an opportunity for any department head or member of the public to address the commission on any item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. I would just like to remind all of our employees that tomorrow there will be a COVID booster clinic at the J.P. Lewis Building between 1 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. Just so I can remind the Commissioners and the general public, next week, being the Thanksgiving holiday, we'll be doing our double days on Monday and Tuesday, and then we'll be closed, obviously, on Thursday and Friday. So make sure you check the schedule on the webpage so you don't have any missed picks up next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Howell, Shawnee County Election Commissioner. Just wanted to basically thank the commission for the canvas event. I thought it went well. I thought the elections went well. We do have the results for the election out on the website. Just a reminder, something I like to remind people about too, school district elections, there are a few of those that also run over into other counties. So when you're looking at the totals, always remember kind of to look at the other counties that are part of that. We've tried to help make that a little clearer on our website, so I'd like some feedback on that. But again, just thank you to the commission for, I think, a nice job on the canvas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Rippon?
Nothing.
Commissioner Mays?
A couple things. Washburn football playoff game this weekend, 1 o'clock Saturday. Even though it's in Arkansas, you can catch it broadcast at the Pennant, Iron Rail, and I believe Johnny's has it as well. And then Washburn volleyball is in the MIAA tournament, the semifinals. They play Northwest Missouri at 8:30 on Friday. So, go Bots.
Looks like we're going to have a nice weekend as well, so I'd encourage you to get out, enjoy your parks and recreation and Old Prairie Town and see the sights. So I don't have anything additional. Our next item.
Item 6, Executive Session.
There's not a need for an executive session today. We are adjourned.
No, we've already got the payments down to the clerk.